Hey there guys and welcome to another episode of FP1. It's the third one today. I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry, but we had the third car launch of the day in the Tauri car, and I think a lot of us are shocked. That livery came out of nowhere. I've said this a lot today, but the support on these videos have been phenomenal over the, not just today, but the last few days have been absolutely fantastic. We've made loads of subscribers as well, which for a channel of this size has really blown me away. So thank you so much for the support. Let's keep that going into testing and hopefully into the new F1 season. So then let's start talking about this car. We've got to start with the livery, haven't we? We were kind of expecting something striking. I was kind of expecting maybe a Minardi-esque design, and that we got lots of predominantly black car with a bit of white maybe. Not at all, in fact. No black at all really on this car. It's more like a navy blue, and I really like it. I admit the first time I saw it, I was like, it's okay, but then very quickly, it's already growing on me. And I think this is probably the best livery we have seen so far. And looking at the responses on Twitter, yeah, everyone's kind of got that opinion that it's a very good looking car. And I cannot wait to see this on the grid in testing. So from an aerodynamic standpoint though, I've been having a look and I've been comparing with a few images of last year's car towards the end of the season, so looking at some of the pictures in Brazil of the last Toro Rosso, and I'm struggling to see too many differences. That's the one worry I have. There are a few little things which I am going to pick out now, but yeah, this seems very much like an evolution of last year's design. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see I know I've said this already today, but I would not be surprised if we see quite a few things added on in testing. Well, yeah, by the time this car rocks up to Australia, I don't think it will look anything like this. But by the by then, let's get through some of those small things that I have noticed. Starting at the front wing, and obviously Toro Rosso going with this low element front wing, which I've been talking about all day, but I'll say it again. Basically, if you look at the top element, you'll see that it connects to the end plate at the front wing very low down. It's been copied by, well, in fact, it was started by Ferrari. Alfa Romeo also used this. And we've seen Mercedes going to a fairly similar design, not quite this aggressive, but Toro Rosso carrying that through. The purpose of that basically is to push air onto the outboard side of the tyre, basically get it away from all those aerodynamic components further back on the car. And it obviously is working very well for the majority of the teams. I think they've all had a fairly low wing so far, at least from all the ones that we've seen. So yeah, this definitely seems to be the way going forward. So one thing I have just spotted on the nose cones, if you look just past where the red, well, they're not red balls, are they anymore? Where the blue balls, I guess, are, there's almost like a triangular duct. Now, I wonder if that is the entrance of the S-duct, or perhaps one of the entrances. I can't see it being the only one. I imagine there'll be some sort of slot gap underneath the front nose cone, which will take the air and spit it out just in front of where the driver is sat. But we have got two extra, almost, ducts just on the side of the nose cone, which I think are new additions last year. It might just be that it's very hard to tell with that old Toro Rosso livery being a much darker shade of blue, but with the white, they're very clearly visible, and I'll zoom in on the image now just so it's really clear for you guys. But again, that's just taking more air that's going underneath the car, getting it out of the way and shoving it on top instead, and it lets them direct it a bit easier. You can put more aerodynamic components as you go slightly further back of the car, so you can take the air and put it back basically wherever you want it on the rear. The overall Bargeboards section looks very 2019 Mercedes-like. That's the kind of impressions that I'm getting. And you've also got that boomerang wing, which I've been talking about for the last couple of days, which McLaren obviously debuted for the first time last year. Lots of teams picking it up now, Haas being another one. I think Red Bull had their own version of the design as well, something that's been very efficient, something that's worked really well for a lot of the teams on the grid. So no real surprise there to see AlphaTauri bringing this up. I'm going to get to use saying AlphaTauri. I'm going to say Toro Rosso at some point in this video, I know I will. But yeah, it looks very nice, very clean. Going towards the floor, you've got a few little flicks here and there. It looks a little bit more complicated than some of the floors that we've seen launched already today. As I've been saying, I feel like the floor is going to change quite a bit on a lot of the cars that we've seen so far as we head through that testing schedule. But hey, that remains to be seen. So the Sidepod intakes, and one of the trends I've noticed this year is they've all been making these Sidepod intakes a lot smaller, and obviously just trying to package that car even tighter than they have done in previous years. And again, Toro Rosso have done that same thing. It's a bit of a weird, almost square intake. It's quite a odd design. I don't think I've seen anything quite like it yet. Maybe on, maybe the Alpha, I can't quite remember, but it looks, yeah, it looks a little bit different. The way it's been packaged, obviously it's a different engine. It's the first, well, we obviously saw how Red Bull packaged their Honda engine. But saying they said Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri have packaged it slightly differently. It looks a bit more bulky on the base, a bit almost thinner on the top of the engine cover, if you can see what I mean from this side-on view. We haven't sadly got that many images of the car that are high enough quality anyway, so I'm just kind of going off what I can. But yeah, they do seem to have packaged the engine and the gearbox very, very slightly differently, which does, to Red Bull, which does surprise me a little bit given the fact that there's such a close communication between those two teams. But hey, well, again, these are just digital renders. I think when we see the car properly on track in Barcelona next week, that might have changed a little bit. Last thing I just want to touch on then is the rear wing, and one thing which I've not noted on any of the cars yet is looking at the swan neck. And now this hasn't changed from last year, but it is something Toro Rosso do differently to a lot of the other teams on the grid. Now, the swan neck, what I mean by that is the little strut that connects the overall car to the rear wing. Now, I'm going to show a picture of the Mercedes that was also announced today, and you'll see that it's got two swan necks that will attach to the wing. Now, Toro Rosso do things slightly differently. They only use one, and that also almost connects to the DRS mechanism as well, which is obviously a little bit different. The advantage of this, obviously, is it kind of gets out of the firing line in regards to where air is going. You don't really have to worry about air hitting that because it's hitting the engine cover first and kind of sliding around the edge of the swan neck rather than actually making contact with it. So I imagine it has an advantage in it will take a bit of the drag off the car. Not a massive amount, but like I said, marginal gains in Formula 1 are such a big thing, so it makes sense to have it. The only worry really is structural integrity, but obviously Toro Rosso ran this last year and it worked fine, so I can see AlphaTauri taking it through, no real issues. The M plate design on the rear wing, again, it's a little bit of an evolution, so the overall cutout on the very far edge of the M plate has stayed relatively the same, at least from what I can see. But if you go further down the M plate, you can see a little bit more technical detail in there. There have been a few more cutouts, a few more almost aerodynamic curls, I guess. That's probably not the technical term for them. But again, just to improve the efficiency of that rear wing and reduce as much drag as they can. But yeah, those were my thoughts then. What do you guys think of the AlphaTauri car? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to respond to as many of you guys as I can. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, and of course subscribe to the video for more of these car launches as they come out. I'll leave my other analysis videos down in the description below and the comments, so feel free to click on those and give those a watch as well. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.